What's up, guys? So I finally broke down and I joined Twitter. I started looking at the comic book writers and artists and higher ups Twitter accounts. I did this because I'm sure a lot of you know or have heard about by now because of Comicsgate. I'm going to go over kind of streamlined timeline of Comicsgate as far as I know, and then I'm going to give my opinions on it. So basically it starts out in 2015, I believe, where Marvel Comics started really getting political in their comic book. So where comics is supposed to be an escape in a way. So basically making it so everything's about politics, and it started gradually. They started hiring people that really didn't deserve the jobs as far as their qualifications and stuff. So a big part of that is Heather Antos. Basically, she went to a Comic-Con and she asked for a job. And they were like, no, we need to see work. And so that the next Comic-Con, she edited one comic, and basically she got hired because Marvel wanted to hire for diversity sake. Basically, people were saying there's not enough women and people of color and everything else, every other minority group, I guess, or underrepresented group. So they were trying to fill that, which a lot of companies do, but I feel like if you're gonna do that, you need to do it. You still need to hire the best people from that position or from those groups for the position you want. So I'm not totally against diversity in that aspect. Like, I'm not against having a diverse set of employees, but you need to still get the best people for the job. And if you're gonna hire for diversity's sake, then find the best people in that group. So a lot of people had problems with this. You had some comic reviewers that were pointing this out, like the comics were kind of going to hell. They actually started changing characters, introducing new characters, and getting rid of the old ones. So like female Thor. So they just take Thor out and put a female in his place and call her Thor. As if like the name is what people care about. No, people care about the story or the character. And they basically did this with all of Marvel's main characters. They changed them to something, a woman or a person of color, and people didn't really like that. And of course, what the creators basically say is that people don't like diversity, and it's not that. You have these established characters, and you basically change them for no reason, and just introduce these other people as them. Like, and then when people don't like it, they claim they're racist or sexist or whatever. And that's not really fair. People love these characters. People are loyal to things like even shoes or electronics brands. People are loyal to these things, and they will be critical when you change these. This goes even deeper with comics because a lot of people grew up with these characters and reading about these characters, and those characters actually helped them grow. taught them how to be people, or what the right thing to do is, and how to act, and um, helped guide them in their morals and stuff like that. So naturally, they were reluctant to accept these new people. Um, then the writing goes downhill. These new characters don't have depth. They don't have adversity. So, in essence, it's like saying, okay, women can do whatever men can do as these superheroes and have no adversity. Basically, they're so much better at it that they don't even, it's not even a challenge for them. Then as it goes on, the comic writers start adding in basically hostility to the fans that are critical of these new characters. For instance, female Thor, I think it was Thor's dad or something, basically represented like white white men, and he tells Thor that she can't be there or be Thor because she's a woman. Basically, her father or whoever he was, this god, was representative of the fans that the creators look at as white men who didn't like the characters getting changed, and he's a caricature of these fans. The creator's opinion is that they don't like this character because she's a woman, not because of any other stuff, not because of the attachment to the previous Thor, or the fact that she doesn't have as much depth, and basically her whole character is being a woman. So they're basically creating a straw man and saying that, basically hating on the fans. And naturally, this creates more people, more comic reviewers, people, lifelong readers of comics, to speak up against this. And naturally, what happens in these cases is that when more people start speaking up against these creators and these new characters, they create more new characters and create and change more. And then it justifies it to them that, yes, America is just full of racists, bigots, and everything else. So now they create more characters, and basically they created a self-fulfilling prophecy where they created these characters. They changed everything that people loved, and now that the people don't love them anymore, they can say it's because they're racist or whatever, which isn't fair. You're oversimplifying people, and so I can understand the reviewers or the readers not liking this. And basically, Marvel dug more into their position and started hiring people, openly racist people. People like Gabby Rivera, who retweets stuff like people saying that you're not allowed in this neighborhood, white boy, or something like that. And a girl that she retweeted a girl that said, don't trust anybody that dates mediocre white men. So this openly racist person, they hire her because Gabby Rivera is a lesbian and Hispanic. And they wanted her to write a character that's lesbian and Hispanic. So now Marvel's basically saying, okay, you can only write these characters if you are, in fact, that character, or you're representative of that character. And unless it's a white man, then anybody can write a white man, but only people, and I'm oversimplifying it here too, so I'm guilty of that. Only people that, if you look like the character that you are writing, that's okay. Basically, they, and I can understand their thought process in that they want the struggles of these people to be represented by these people. The problem is perception is reality to people. Like how you believe something or how you perceive something is your reality to you. That's your experience. But when you're writing a comic character, you're not exactly only writing it from their perspective. You're writing it as a person watching what's happening to this person. So, um, like if you're raised to believe that people hate you because of your skin color or because you're a lesbian or because you're a woman, then every bad thing that happens to you or every criticism of you becomes your perception of that is that they don't like you or whatever. Their criticism is because you're one of these things. And that's not necessarily true. Now, it can be true. I'm not saying that it can't be true. But when you give people this out, they're always going to take the easy out. It's easier to blame somebody else than to actually accept criticism. And so these characters now, or these writers are now writing these characters as if everybody that they go up against is openly racist against them and don't like them because, for whatever reason, stuff that they have nothing to do with. Now this goes out all across Marvel. They start over-representing people relative to how they're actually represented in real life. So a ton of characters become gay and or minorities, and now there's only so they add all this diversity, but there's also only diversity in the heroes. The heroes are the diverse characters, and the villains are white men. And that's obviously that's not every villain, but I would say of all the comics that I've read and read about, at least 85% of the villains are white men. So, basically they're displaying their politics openly, like we believe that white people are bad and whatever. Now, as this is all happening, like they keep hiring more and more people like this. They hire a trans woman. Now this woman is openly woman or man, I don't know, openly hostile to non-trans people. That she tweeted out something that said that she wants to beat every non-trans person's, not every, she says, watch out cis people or something. I'd like to bash their teeth in with baseball bat. She doesn't say a cis person, she says cis people. So, they hire people like this, openly violent people. Okay, now this, is really what starts like the craziness. Now, all this has happened. Yes, there's been, like I said, Marvel's been gradually getting more and more extreme in their views, and they get rid of people that don't openly express their left-wing views, and if you aren't left-wing, you have to be silent, while everybody else that is left-wing, all they talk about is politics. On Twitter, all it is politics. So now we get to about 6 months ago, that's when Diversity in Comics starts his YouTube channel. And he talks about all the stuff I've previously talked about, or that I basically gave the gist of. So, his channel grows really fast. He's really critical of Marvel and all their forced diversity. Now, Marvel sees this. There is this growing fan base of people that don't like their forced diversity. And they view it as they don't like diversity. Basically, they're racist and sexist. When there's a difference between forced diversity and diversity. Diversity for diversity's sake is forced diversity. If you are hiring unqualified people just because of what they look like, whether they're trans, woman, their sexuality, skin color, whatever. That is forced diversity. But just being diverse is not a problem. Nobody cares about that. And I'm gonna link all the Twitter, the Twitter accounts that I know about, and you can view it for yourself. Don't take my opinion for it or my word for it. You can look at it that they're openly hostile towards fans, and all they talk about is politics. And okay, back to diversity in comics. Now, diversity in comics is a real problem for the narrative of that everybody is that doesn't like them, doesn't like diversity and all this stuff. Diversity in comics started, he used to watch Capn Cummings. Capn Cummings real good. I'd recommend, if you don't know who he is, go check him out. He was one of the earlier people. Him and Douglas Ernst were the earlier reviewers or comic fans that were critical of Marvel. Then Diversity Comics come along. He has a Jewish daughter, a Muslim daughter. He was, I believe, married to a Muslim woman, or dated, whatever. So that really throws a wrench in Marvel's idea that that he's just racist. And so then he joins Twitter. Now, he said previously that he believes that Twitter is you don't communicate well on Twitter because it's so short. You can't really get your point across well. It's in text, so you can't understand tone, but so there's going to be a lot of confusion. Also, by making it 140 characters or whatever, you basically have to reduce your opinion down to like just a few words when something's really complex. So Marvel is starting to notice diversity in comics, and this really comes to a head when Heather Antos posted a picture of all the girls at Marvel with their milkshakes, and she calls it the Milkshake Crew. Now, at this point, Marvel Comics their quality has gone downhill. They started a comic where Captain America becomes a Nazi, basically. And this is representative of Marvel feeling like America is just a bunch of racist Nazis, and because Captain America is representative of America. So by making him a Nazi, he's basically just posting his political opinions out there, saying how everybody, it was a bunch of anti-Trump stuff, and basically they're alienating half their audience. And probably even more than that, because even people that are on the left aren't necessarily gonna like you constantly talking about politics. Like, you go to comics for an escape. Well, so people are already super critical. They know about Heather Antos because it was put out how she got her job and stuff, and they only post political stuff. And then there was a few critical tweets in the section of in her tweet. So people commented, and there was a few critical ones. Basically, they were critical. Some Diversity in Comics calls them fake geek girls because and he makes a point there. Obviously, he says in Twitter you can't communicate well on Twitter, so he puts that there. But he also makes a video about it and tells you like why these are fake geek girls, because they don't know anything about the characters they're writing, and it's kind of just like pretending. People that like cosplay, and they became writers because they're women. That's his point they made, and so they're fake geeks. posers, I guess. And that's not that far off. Every fandom, everything has posers, right? That, that's not even controversial to say. What caused the controversy is he's saying these are posers, and now this gets turned into, they basically say that he is attacking all women in comics because of this comment he makes about these women. He is saying all women in comics are fake geeks and should be out. So they create a straw man that says he said this stuff, when that's not what he's saying. He's being critical of these women or this woman, and they conflate it to he's critical of all women. And this has become a pattern in Marvel. He's also critical of Mags Visaggio, and because she says that she wants to beat cis people's teeth in. So he's critical of her, and now he's anti-trans, basically. So Marvel has created a situation where you can't criticize a person of color or a woman or anything. The only people who are allowed to criticize are men, and even if you criticize them, it's because you're a sexist or whatever. They will contort it into making you sexist or whatever. So, basically, the Marvel people, the left at Marvel, have created a shield. Basically, you can't criticize these people without criticizing the whole group that they represent, which is ridiculous. So if we do it the same, like by criticizing diversity in comics, you're criticizing all men, all white men, but that's perfectly fine. That's okay. That's accepted in America, where men, you can be openly racist or sexist to white men, and that's perfectly fine in America today. You won't lose your job or anything for that. You can actually get jobs for that, and that's what's been happening at Marvel. People get jobs based on politics rather than their talent. So this basically skyrockets the popularity of diversity in comics. He was already pretty big at this point, but he gets even bigger. And this creates a whole movement of people who are against politics in comics, and basically, them hammering you with politics over and over again. It's like you can't get away. There are very few of, I don't know how many titles Marvel has, maybe 100 it feels like, but of those, maybe 20% are apolitical. So that's another critique people have of Marvel, is that they produce too many comics, and there's no way people will know which ones are good, and so they're just flooding the shelves. And this, it may work as far as for Marvel. Basically, they're representing everybody, so very few people buy like each comic. So they sell a lot altogether because they put out so many comics, but they don't sell a lot of each comic, which is fine for them, but it hurts comic book stores because comic book stores can't return comics. Basically, whatever they order, they pay for, and that's it. Now, there has been claims that they overship certain comics because a lot of people look up how many comics were ordered, basically, to see how popular comics are. So the sites that give you that information give you information on what was shipped. So there's claims that Marvel overships to stores, and I haven't verified this, but the people that claim this, like diversity in comic stuff, they say they know people at comic book stores, and people have written them emails about this, about being overshipped stuff for free, to make it look like these things are more popular than they really are. So that's another critique. But as diversity in comics gets more and more popular, Marvel really starts to double down and what's the word called? Villainize? Whatever it is. They make him out to be the bad guy, which makes him more and more popular because people don't like that. People don't like constantly being bombarded with politics. And now this is getting bigger and bigger. I'm sorry if I forget anything in here. I'm coming towards the end, so if you want more videos like this, tell me. But sorry, I digress. So diversity in comics is going to he was talking about going to a Comic-Con. So in Baltimore. So the comics writers and stuff and editors and all this, they start a Facebook group where they start planning on they basically tell security to watch out for this guy. They know his name. They start blasting diversity in comics. They dox him. Heather Antos doxes diversity in comics. I forgot to mention that. So now he actually has a real reason not to like her as a person, because she was complicit. She didn't actually do the doxing, but she was complicit in the doxing of this person. So after he's doxed, they just start blasting his all these comics writers and stuff, the professionals, comics professionals. They start writing his name all over Twitter. They do this campaign for a day where everybody just starts writing his name, like, oh, you can use his name, he's not Voldemort, whatever, and they write his name out. Now, a couple days later, he finds out about this Facebook group, or I think he found out about it that day, of a plan to actually get him, for security to watch him at Comic-Con or not let him in, basically to make him out to be a danger. They're telling security to watch out for him, and he's dangerous. But in this in this Facebook group, they admit that he is not dangerous, and they actually talk about following him around and harassing him until he physically assaults them. So they have this. They're making a plot to where they're gonna frame him and harass him until he becomes violent, and then that would destroy any credibility he had. Like, for instance, basically it takes like what happens at Charlottesville. Basically, the white nationalists, with nobody likes those people. They didn't want a statue taken down, so they protest. Antifa and Black Lives Matter come in. A guy runs a lady over, and she dies. Now, this doesn't only villainize like white nationalists. Now, this villainizes anybody who doesn't openly say like, I'm against this person or these people, and anybody that it villainizes anybody that doesn't want Civil War statues taken down, or like rebel statues, whatever you call them. So now you villainize all these people. They tried to do this to diversity in comics. So that's kind of where we're at now. Like they're setting him up, which it could possibly be. I don't know if this is the motive, but diversity in comics, like myself and Capn Cummings, and I believe Douglas Ernst, we're all veterans. And I think, well, it's possible, I don't know if I believe this, that they think because he's been to war and stuff that he is prone to violence. So they have a prejudice of him, thinking that he is more violent. He's actually a pretty calm sounding dude. He has a good channel. I tried to stay away from watching him. I had to watch a bunch of his videos to make this video. But I wanted to try to keep as little knowledge of comics as possible. But I kind of ruined that, although I don't know everybody's backstory, so I'll still have like a kind of fresh perspective of comics. But I'm gonna put like links to comics professionals' Twitters, and I'll put links to Douglas Ernst's channel, Diversity in Comics, Capn Cummings, um, so you can get their perspective. Now, I don't totally agree. Like, yes, I don't totally agree with everything that these guys say, but for the most part, they're not doing anything wrong. They're critical and they have valid arguments. And instead of arguing against their points, Marvel has chose to villainize them and say they're evil. I'm sorry, but even evil people can be right. So basically, it's what this is just a microcosm of like everything that's happening in America now. Treating everything as black and white. But the big problem is that Marvel is openly hostile to fans. They don't care about sales because their sales have gone down like insanely. Like they sell books like, okay, think about all of America. Millions of people, hundreds of millions of people. I don't know exactly how many people are in America, but basically hundreds of millions of people. They have comic books that are selling like 5,000 copies. That's ridiculous. Like, that's insane how low that is. And yet they still can make these comics because they're written by diverse diverse people. So you can't fire these people. And now, like, what happened with the milkshake stuff, Heather Antos has basically made herself unfireable because now she's representative of all women. If Marvel fires her, then they look sexist. And all this is just insane because reading Marvel comics now and not actually just knowing about the movies and stuff, there's stuff that I know about these characters that the people writing these characters don't know about these characters. And that's silly. That should never happen. I'm brand new to comics. I know a little bit from when I was a kid. And my favorite character, I want to go into this real quick. My favorite character is the Hulk. And I hate the new Hulk. I hate the new Hulk. Basically, why I love the Hulk is because Bruce Banner has to be like, he's like an even-keeled guy. And that's me in real life. But I understand his struggle. Like, basically, he internalizes everything. So that's like me. Me and my wife will get in arguments, and I'll be irritated, but I don't show that I'm mad. I never show that I'm hurt or anything like that to my wife. But it all builds up until something finally happens, and then I will get in like a real argument, and I will say really mean things. And it all just built up over time. And I'm not proud of that. And it's something that I really dislike in myself, but you know, it's how I deal with my emotions, is that I internalize everything, and what naturally happens is that bursts out. So that's why I love the Hulk. And the new Hulk is not like that. The new Hulk basically has complete control over the Hulk, and I dislike that. Like, that's not what it's meant to be. That's not the character. And basically, by me not liking the new Hulk, Marvel will believe that I don't like Asian people, I guess. I don't know. But that's all I got right now. If I think of anything that I missed, I'll make another video about it. It'll be much shorter. But thanks for everybody for watching. Or if anybody watched this. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Comment, subscribe. If you look at my previous video, I'm going to give away a free comic, a digital comic. So all you have to do is subscribe and comment on the video. I'm going to do this with basically all my videos. Or I'm going to try to. So if you're subscribed, you just comment and I'll pick somebody to give the comic to. So, all right, everybody, thanks for watching.